Hey Maria, how are you?
Great, Brad. How are you?
I am wonderful. Maria, thank you so much for coming to spend time with our team and helping us to navigate with insurance, the what to do, what not to do after the storms. We have a lot of our clients, the community, friends, family asking us these questions, and we want to make sure, as the real estate consultants that we are, that we're given the best possible information out there. So, if you'd like, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you
Sure.
do?
Well, I'm an insurance agent. I kind of fell into it. 20 years ago, I needed to spend more time with my children. I was doing real estate and decided to just get a little desk job until my kids all went to college. And I got the insurance bug and I never looked back. So that is how I landed with insurance. And it really does do a lot for the community, helping people, staying informed, trying to navigate through the pricing crisis of insurance throughout the years. So that's, and I try and stay updated with all these topics because it's so important for Florida insurance.
Yeah, and you've been a great resource to our team and also me personally with all the properties.
Thank
And
you.
you've given such great advice, and even when the news is bad, you just have a way of really being able to say,
That's what it is.
here you go, let's move forward. Because insurance is definitely a tricky subject.
Yes,
So,
it
yeah.
is. It is. It is. Um, but at the end of the day, I want to write what the client needs. I don't write crappy policies.
Yeah.
Just don't do it, because now is living proof of what happens when people skimp on coverage or remove wind coverage, remove flood, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So we reached out to some of the clients and different folks, and they came up with some questions. So we have a couple of questions
Sure.
that we'd like
Let's
to
go.
go over and be able to help educate the community. So the first question that we received was, what are ways to save on hurricane, flood, and homeowners insurance while not cutting on coverage?
You really need to, before you buy a house, sit down and decide, what do I want to self-insure? A lot of people will reduce some contents coverage without removing it all. They go to 25% of the dwelling coverage, or other people, especially first-time home buyers, they will remove the replacement costs and the contents until they get, brand new furniture and personal belongings, because a lot of, especially, young couples, young people, they start with lawn chairs and, college throwaways. So that's one way. A lot of people go to the 5% hurricane deductible. I don't advise that, because then unless you're going to keep that money on the side making interest for you somewhere, and then if tomorrow you need it, you have it there to rebuild or replace.
Okay.
But it's minimal. Things like that, are minimal. And then shop it. Shop it. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you just have to bite the bullet.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Next question. What is the process for evaluating damage and determining payouts when working with a claim?
It's different with FEMA policies and homeowners insurance policies. Homeowners insurance policies, if you endorse the policy with replacement costs on your personal property, the adjuster will go out there, they assess the damage. One key in both situations, for both claims, flooding and homeowners, is documentation and a very detailed inventory list. It's tedious, absolutely, very tedious, but the more information you put on there, the more you can get reimbursed for. So the first check with homeowners insurance, you get one initial check, and as you show that you've replaced these things, you get the replacement cost check. That's on the homeowner side. With FEMA flood policies, you will only get actual cash values. So the more information you give that adjuster on the inventory sheet, the better for you.
Okay, good. You know, it was funny. We were out, as you know, I was out of the country for the first storm. Came home just in time for the second one, and the first thing I did is I was thinking, oh my God, like what's going to happen? I ran around my house and I photoed and videoed everything I had, you know, the art, the furniture, just so I had a record of it, just in case. And you know, Stacy thought it was a little crazy. I actually packed a backpack and put stuff in it,
Good
like
job.
important documents and you know, things that if we had to leave, we had with us. And you know, you take that for granted. You don't think of those things.
And you know, that's good to do. And also, most safes are not waterproof.
Yeah.
Put your declaration pages, your trust paperwork, your anything of value, put it in a Ziploc, one of those gallon Ziplocs. And if you have a safety deposit box in banks, if possible, go ask for
A
a higher one.
Yeah.
Because things will get damaged, titles of cars and golf carts and will get damaged and, you know, all smudged in a flood, which is happening now. So that's great that you did that. And print your declaration pages. People could not reach me. We had our office flooded, internet was down. But everybody who called me, remember me saying to them, please print the declaration page in case you can't reach me. So make sure that that's done, and the grab and go bag is.
Yeah. And I remember that phone call, and that was the first thing that we did was print.
Yes.
You know, for all the properties, just in case, because you know.
Exactly.
You don't know.
What if I would have washed away?
No, I'd be lost. Don't go anywhere, Maria, please. Yeah. So. You know, I know Hunter has a couple questions as well, and Jacob.
Absolutely. So what we've heard from the community, some other clients, question, do you recommend an attorney or independent adjuster getting involved?
You know, that is a case-by-case situation because your clients have to decide, am I willing to give up the percentage that they're going to charge? That's not covered by insurance. Am I willing to give that percentage up, you know, or I'll handle it unless they feel that, you know, there's, like with FEMA floods, with other companies, there's ways to appeal decisions. So it's like a case-by-case situation, you know. And it's been my experience that it slows down the process. I mean, my clients have access to me all the time. I mean, you know. So it's a case by case. That's such a personal, individual decision, and they have to sit down and look at the expense.
Right.
That's not going to be covered by anybody, and it's one of their out of pockets if they decide to go that route.
And as far as the adjusters, or if an attorney took it on based on, you know, getting paid from the payout, it would be a percentage of what was received, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Good answers. Second question, do insurance policies and or FEMA have provisions in the mortgage to cover for mortgage payments if you are displaced?
For your homeowner's insurance, if you're displaced, it does. It has a loss of use or loss of rental income. If that house becomes condemned or you can't be there, the policy on the homeowners or a dwelling fire policy does have coverage for the loss of income. Or if it's your primary home, now you have a mortgage and a rental, a lease, it does have coverage for that. Now the FEMA policy does not.
Wow.
No.
I know we have another team member asking, or interested in asking questions as well.
So, Maria, what happens if you were in a flood zone and you were damaged by the surge or flooding?
Well, if you have an insurance policy, you could call and file a claim. And then as well, FEMA has a lot of programs out there. And if you go to smartflood.gov, it's for the community. It's an amazing amount of grants, information for compliance, for the rebuilding, for emergency funds for people with very, very, special needs and things like that. So that's a very good source for the community to go and look. If you don't have flood insurance, you could go on that site and see if FEMA will give you qualify for some kind of grant or something like that. But your homeowner's insurance will not cover damages of rising water, flooding, things like that.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that answer. And then, are there any recommendations when binding a new policy for home insurance to better protect your home from future hurricanes?
Yes, you know, the roof age, the attachment of the roof to that house, hurricane impact windows, and it has to be to all openings, all the windows and garage door and doors, in order for you to get the credit on your homeowners. But, I mean, we live in Florida, and the codes, you know, after Hurricane Andrew changed quite a bit, and I'm sure we'll see more changes after these two storms as well. But and in Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, they're pretty. They stay on top of the you know, the statutes and the codes that need to be passed. So and the newer homes have better protection, supposedly, even though the ones that are built in the 1800s are still around. So. But yeah, there are options. You could, you know, and when you have the house inspected, communicate with the home inspector as well, and see what kind of attachments on the roof, and if you could change it, that's an option to something sturdier. So if it's toenails, you know, single wraps or clips are better. Go that route, but it's not always an option.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, one of the things, Maria, that I heard multiple times, you know, from the weekend to today is, you know, we had damage. I don't know if I want to stay. You know, we had surge. A lot of water came in. I want to be done. I want to sell my house. I don't necessarily want to fix it. Now what?
Well, that's also a case-by-case situation, slippery slope, because each case is different. If somebody has a mortgage on the house, it's totally different than if somebody has a tear down and they're just looking to just get out, sell the lot, and be done. I would suggest that anybody in that situation that has an active claim, an open claim, discuss it with their adjuster and see if they could assign their rights of the insurance and get approval in writing, if that's even an option. Okay. For homeowners as well, because I understand. I've also spoken to some people that they're done.
Yeah.
You know, and if I was 80 years old, I don't think I'd want to start dealing with a flood situation or anything like that. So it's a case-by-case situation. So, and right now we have to disclose so much. A homeowner has to disclose of the flooding. And again, the more documentation they could give you, yep, that you could actually put a folder together just on the damage documentation, you know, because down the line you don't want a problem. Yeah.
So with that being said, like some of the homes, for instance, especially in, you know, St. Pete, mm-hmm, you know, Shore Acres, South Tampa, where they're low-lying areas and they got damaged. I know you have the 50% rule, yes, with having to either raise the house, but you know, if these houses fall below the 50% rule and they get the payout and they then decide, you know what, I want to sell. I want to sell the house, mm-hmm, and maybe their mortgage balance is low enough, or maybe right, they don't have a mortgage. Is that something that can be done? Does that claim stay with the house? Is it supposed to be for the used for?
It will come up in a clue report, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, even when we're binding coverage, a lot of times a prior claim on that house will come up. So, especially with a FEMA claim, yes, absolutely, okay, it will come up. It'll show up that that house had, you know, flooding. So then, in in our situation, the insurance agent, a lot of times we have to prove that all the damage has been corrected, and that's as easy as clear 4-point inspection and then photos of each room inside. So that's, now if it's had 2 or more floods, then we have to go speak to, the FEMA representatives at our end to see if they could still obtain flood insurance.
Wow, I didn't know that. So I actually have a client that's had multiple floods over the years. Is there ever a point where they say, we're done?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I've had that situation where they say no. So it's important, like when you guys are going out to listing appointments, let your clients know this is not a slam dunk. We've got to do our research, and
Yeah.
getting a flood quote and trying to bind it, that's a phone call to me. So
Sure.
I'll feed you as much information and documentation as I have ready available. So, but yeah, it may be a problem. It has been in the past for certain properties after
Okay.
two floods.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, if you
I'm
were to-
sorry.
Yeah, well, you make it sound better at least. One of the other questions I wanted to ask you is like pitfalls or things to avoid when filing a claim. And I know, we had a problem with one of our properties, and I specifically asked you questions because I did not want to limit myself or put myself in a bad position as to, what do we do before the adjuster? Because the adjuster is like 3 weeks out.
Yes,
So-
for homeowners.
Yeah.
I have to say, the FEMA guys,
Oh, wow.
but the homeowners, they're spread thin,
Yeah.
so thin. But the pitfalls are not reacting. I know a lot of people are looking at their deductibles, and which is fine. But that's why you need a relationship with an agent where you could call and go over it and say, okay. And then because if the problem gets worse, or if you wait too many days, they could deny you for not being reactive to a situation that is damaging the house. So you don't want that. So, putting your head in the sand and not reacting is a terrible pitfall. We pay for insurance, and in Florida we pay a high price.
Yep.
So you should be able to at least get answers and then make an informed decision.
Sure.
Especially with the hurricane, because the deductibles are so much higher. But that's a different type of claim. That's a catastrophic event that we have no control over.
Right. And as far as a claim, like I know when we discussed the property that I have, that we filed the claim, if we decide it doesn't make sense to proceed with the claim and we decide to do the repair on ourselves because of the amount of coverage, is that something that is okay as well?
It has happened, yes.
Okay.
They withdraw the claim. It still shows up that a claim was filed and then zero paid out. You could reach out to the adjuster and say, we're going to take care of this, and then keep documentations of the repairs you're doing, because the company might come back and say, was this ever taken care of?
Right.
Because the claim is documented that it was called in. So again, and that's something that, like, if you decide to do that, send your insurance agent documentation so it's in that file. It's easy access for you,
Right.
for me.
So photos to clean up, receipts,
Exactly,
etc.
receipt. Perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I learned a lot from the storm, especially calling you the past week or so, and like tree damage, for instance. You have all these trees that fall down, and maximum coverage on that homeowner's policy was $1,500.
Yeah, for one tree. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, if it falls on the house, that's different. Like
Yeah.
damages, things like that. But the actual tree, a lot of companies will limit the amount that they're willing to pay out for one tree.
And if there's
And
multiple,
even landscaping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if there's
and if it's
multiple trees,
it's still the
yes,
one tree,
yes.
$1,500, which happened to us. We had multiple trees that fell.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing how many trees there are in Hillsborough County and Pinellas and Pasco. But yes, they do limit that coverage. And if it's your neighbor's tree and it falls on your house, it becomes your problem.
Right. Yeah.
So that's another thing. I've gotten a lot of calls like, my neighbor's tree fell on my house. It's yours now.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's yours
Mm-hmm.
now. Yeah. Well, Maria, I greatly appreciate all the insight, and we're definitely going to share this with clients and
Okay.
and everybody. And I know we have your cards, your
Yep.
email, everything else.
Yep.
to
If anybody has questions,
them.
email me. I've been on the phone since Hurricane Helene, like nonstop. We have a beautiful staff, but I dare to say we've had a good 1,000 claims, and our office was flooded. So it's challenging, but we're Florida strong.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and I'm pretty quick on the emails. I try anyway.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Maria.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been my
Thank you.
pleasure, gentlemen.